Hey everybody, welcome back to the Just Make It Pretty podcast. So today I am talking with Mollie Elkman and I am fangirling so hard over here and I'm so excited to bring you this episode because I built this episode around a lot of questions that I don't think that we talk about enough in this industry and just being professional women in general. And with Mollie's 20 years of experience in this industry, she has so much good insights to share. And this is just a conversation that really filled my cup. And I cannot wait for you guys to hear it as well. So if that sounds interesting to you, please stick around and we're going to get right into it. Welcome to the Just Make It Pretty podcast, the marketing and mindset show for home builders and beyond. I'm your host, Sarah Haynes, and around here we go beyond pretty pictures and we get honest about what's working, what's not, and what it really takes to build better brands, better experiences, and better teams. You'll find creative ideas, practical strategies, and conversations that actually matter. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's get started. Hey everybody. So I can't even hold my excitement a minute longer. So I'm just going to dive right into introducing our guest today because like I said in the intro, this is a bucket list moment for me. I have one and only Mollie Elkman on with me today. If you don't know, which I don't think that any of you don't know who she is, but she's the CEO of Group 2 Advertising and the founder of the She Built Foundation. So Mollie, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. You are so sweet. I am also so excited to be here and to chat with you. We got to sit next to each other at nationals last year and we just had so much fun and we're laughing and I'm happy to be here and to participate.
Thank you. Yeah, Nationals was really fun. And I don't know, I feel like there's just not a lot of women in this industry that are in marketing. And obviously, there's a ton of women in marketing, but there's not a lot of women that I know of that I really look up to and that have been in the industry as long as you have. And we kind of share also because we're both on the agency side. Yeah, you're just definitely one of the people in the industry that I really look up to. So I'm really excited that you agreed to be here and to have this conversation. I think it's going to be a little bit, hopefully it'll be a little bit different of a conversation than I've had on the episode on the podcast and also that the industry has had. So I'm excited.
Me too. And you know, it's actually funny. This is my 20th year in the home building industry. So I'm like really excited about that. But I'm also like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this 20 years. That sounds crazy when I say it in my head. I'm like, wow, because I still think I'm like young, but I'm not. I'm middle-aged now. But yeah, I think a little bit of my background, just because like you assume people know who I am, but I don't think anyone knows who I am. I actually came into this industry because of my dad. So I've been around the industry since I was a little kid. And my dad started Group 2, and he used to actually have me be in some of the print ads. It was like these black and white print ads that were in the newspaper. So I've been around builders and model homes my entire life. And on the marketing side, that's really always where I've been. To now take over that company and then to start my own nonprofit, the She Built Foundation within the industry. It's just been a really amazing journey. And I love our industry. And I think I wear this little charm bracelet with a house on it. I kind of joke that other than my husband, the housing industry is my other great love. And I really do feel that way. I think we have an amazing industry, but I'm also really excited to chat with you because one of the things we talked about is just having a real behind the scenes conversation and not that marketing outward facing sunshine and daisies, the real truth behind business and leadership and all of that. So I'm excited to see where the conversation takes us.
Yeah, me too. I think it's hard to be sometimes vulnerable about some of those things. And I think there's a lot about running a business, and especially as a woman, that a lot of people just don't see and don't realize. And so I'm excited that you're down to share some of that because I know I've experienced it and it's hard to find people that get it sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. Ask me anything.
Okay, so my first question. So, as you were coming into the industry, and obviously you're watching your dad and you were ingrained from the beginning, but you're coming in and you're taking over Group 2. And what were some of the things that you felt like in those moments that you had to prove as you were stepping into that role?
Yeah, so what's funny is I remember some of my early feedback when I started joining meetings with my dad as an employee of Group 2, not just as his daughter. And some of the feedback was that I was very serious. Now, and I found that to be so funny, but also I felt like I had to be. Like when you say, what did I have to prove? I had to prove everything. And more than anything, I remember in my head being so committed to proving that I was smart and that I was smart enough to be in the room. And that was something that I felt a lot of pressure as a young woman in the industry to prove my value, that I wasn't just another body in the room, but that I added something to the conversation. And so that was always in the back of my mind.
Yeah. I think a lot of young people coming into the industry can identify with that because we don't have the years behind us, but at the same time we're excited and we have a lot of ideas and we know we know our shit. So we want to showcase that. And I can remember as I was coming in that I would be in meetings with clients and or different people and they would be like, how old even are you?
Oh,
Can you even? And it was always such a stab to the heart. And I'm
yeah.
just like, but I do know, I'm telling you the right thing.
It's really hard, especially so for me, my dad already had an established personality and brand in group two. And my dad is 6'4", full head of white hair. He has this presence about him, but he's also a jokester. He's sarcastic and he says off the wall things, like such a marketing, get your attention kind of person. And when I joined, sitting next to him, I was like the opposite. I listened and I was serious because I wanted to be taken seriously. And I think it almost stood out more because compared to him, it made me seem like even more like intense and serious. But I am intense when it comes to marketing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you feel like you changed that in order to fit in or to step into that role, or are you still known as being very serious?
I I don't think I'm known for being serious now. I think I am truly just who I am and I make jokes. I'm definitely honest. I'll share what I think is the truth, whether it's what the person wants to hear or not. But I'm not trying to prove myself by any means. That was something that was early on in my career. And I think that's definitely changed now that I've been doing this for 20 years.
Yeah, yes, definitely. You come across very confident and
Oh,
like you
thank
know
you.
your stuff. What do you think as you were learning that the business side of running a business and stepping into that? I think it's something that a lot of people don't understand all of the ins and outs of entrepreneurship. So, what are some things that you feel like people get misunderstand about owning a business and leading at the same time?
So there are a lot of things.
Mhm.
I think the hardest part is when you own a business, you spend the majority of your time not doing the thing you're passionate about, right? Like you're running the business and that's a full-time job. That part of it, I don't think a lot of people really think about. They don't think about the structure and the setup and the taxes and the paperwork and the all the stuff behind the scenes that is not very sexy, not very exciting, that is literally needed to run a successful business. The other part for me, because I specifically came in and took over an established business, I think I also felt like this deep need to prove myself because even though I came into the industry during a down market or the beginning of a down market and had to rebuild Group 2, I always felt like I don't want people to think something was given to me. And I need to show that like I'm not just here because my dad passed a business along to me. I'm here because I want to be here and I have something to add. And I think, quite frankly, that's part of why the She Built Foundation and bringing that to life was so important to me because I wanted to prove that I can start something from nothing, that I do have that entrepreneurial spirit, even though I am a second generation business owner when it comes to Group 2. But I think that a lot of that was just me wanting to prove it to myself. Like, I don't even think the industry had this perception. I think there's a lot of second and third generation business owners, but it's something that I really put on my own shoulders for sure.
Yeah. You have to make it your own, which I feel like as an outsider, I feel like you've done with group two, but that kind of is there in the back of your mind of I didn't start this, but I don't think it takes away from the value of what you're doing and what you've built. So I guess my question would be like, how do you feel like you've changed Group Two to be yours?
Yeah, so Group Two is a totally different company today.
Yeah.
It was started in the 1969, which is, we've been around a long time. The company is obviously older than me, but Group Two really started as a heavy print production company. Those old brochures, heavy brochures that you used to have in model homes and print ads and just a lot of print was really the foundation of Group Two as a company. It's funny, I talked to my dad today about it, and he's on our email list and he sees all the stuff that we're putting out there. And I don't recognize Group Two at all. Now we're talking about AI and digital marketing and social media, and just it's such a different way that people communicate and process and get information. So the company, it's the same name and the same deliverable, marketing for home builders, but marketing for home builders changes so much. It's going to change in the next 5 years again so much. So I would say for me, making it really adaptable and making sure that we're changing with the market, changing with the way consumers communicate is has been like a really big part of why I've been able to be successful with the company over 20 years. It's pretty rare. Group Two has really grown every single year, which is, according to my accountant, is very rare. And I think part of that is this very deep respect for the fact that it's never going to just stay the same. We are going to change and evolve and adapt. Just builders have to, because customers change and evolve and adapt.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the best part about marketing is like it's
Yeah.
never boring. It's always changing.
That's
Always
so true.
like
There's always a new challenge.
yeah, it's exciting. And I think when you truly love marketing and what you do, it's a plus to have that aspect of the industry, but you have to continually innovate all the time or you get left behind. And so clearly if a business has been around for as long as Group 2 has, it's you have to innovate or you wouldn't be here. So I want to go now into talking about just your experience as a woman in the industry and how do you feel like that is different, especially in a leadership role from what men may experience?
Yeah, I think there are so many challenges that women face in leadership. One really being that we're still expected to run things at home on top of our role professionally. I think that can be a real challenge. I think the industry as a whole, I had mixed feelings. Like, honestly, when I came into the industry, I didn't originally get involved in like professional women in building. And I didn't lean into the fact that I was a woman because I almost saw that as something to overcome in my profession. I remember when I first joined the industry, I remember a builder saying directly to my face, "Don't you have a brother?" Just shocked that I would be the one to take over Group Two. And what's so funny about it is my brother did the opposite. He went into culinary and he loves to be in the kitchen, which is where he has the bias on the other side, where you don't see as many men who are passionate about cooking and being in the kitchen. And then he had no interest in home building or owning a business. And yeah, so my early perception was being a woman is not the most interesting thing about me. It's something that gives me a different perspective, but I didn't want to lean into it. And then I started to really pay attention to some of these conversations about home building and buyers and consumer behavior. And when I realized how much power women have from a consumer standpoint, right? Women, when it comes to purchasing decisions, especially about a home, women are really in control of so much of that decision power. Whether or not they're writing the check, it doesn't matter. It's that decision of making a house a home. And that really shifted how I think of myself within the industry. And to me, I started to shape my perspective around like, how are there so many tables talking about new home marketing that don't have a woman at the table? And I started to realize that being a I'm technically a millennial, but I'm like on the cusp. Being a millennial and being a woman actually is something that gives me a unique perspective that I should use, and that it's such a positive and something that I should lean into. And once I figured that out, I actually think my career took off in a positive way because I started to connect more with women in the industry. I started to seek out advice from other women. I started to mentor people who were younger than me or less experienced than me. And it creates such a different work experience because then all of a sudden you have this network of people around you who are friends, who are peers, who are rooting for you. And I am a girl's girl. I went to an all girls camp. I was in a sorority, lived in my sorority house. To me, this idea of sisterhood, I never thought that existed in a professional environment, and it actually can. And I think that's so fun. It should feel like you're around your people and that you're around people who are rooting for you and people who want to see you succeed. And I think once I leaned into that, I realized we totally have that, but you have to put into it as well.
Yeah. Oh, I identify with all of that so much. I have so many things to say. I think I definitely, starting with what you said first about like how being a woman was something you had to overcome in the industry, I've definitely felt that myself as well. And especially when you're talking about anything technology based for whatever reason, people look at you and they're just like, yeah, but I feel like they question it more. If a man says the exact same thing, people are just like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what we're going to do. And then for me to say it, are you sure? They have so many more questions. I have to prove it. And that's always that, along with my age, has always been something that's so frustrating to me. It's like, why do I have all these extra steps? Can you just not? I'm here. You already hired me. Let's go.
I do think that gets easier once you have a proven history of making good decisions and you have those success stories, you share those. And I totally feel you. I do think that that gets better over time, but it is frustrating. And I do remember being in that position, and I still am sometimes in that position. I've been in a couple boardrooms not that long ago where a lot of it is generational, right? So I'm with some older, old school thinkers, and I brought a team of a cross department team, and I noticed that these two older men were talking to the least senior person in the room who happened to be a male. And in my mind, I'm like sitting back and I'm like, this is actually like pure comedy. I almost want to watch this play out because it's just so stupid. And quite frankly, they looked so dumb because they're sitting here assuming that the person who deserves their attention is the man in the room who happened to be the person who literally knew the least about what we were talking about. And I think once you can get to that point where you see it for what it is and you're just like, "Oh my gosh, wow. You're really showing that's actually a business weakness in their mindset." Those situations, I think, now become kind of entertainment.
That's a good point. And taking it away from your self identity, it's not
Right.
about you. It doesn't mean that I'm less valuable in this conversation. It's really a reflection of them and their mindset.
Yeah.
Is a really good mindset shift to have. But I think it just goes to the whole being in leadership is lonely, and being in these positions and these conversations when you don't have a lot of support, it's really hard. And I think a lot of women can identify with that. I've heard tons of stories from other women that have the same kind of situation. And it's funny to me because when I go into a builder and I'm working with somebody, I look for the women. I'm like, you're the ones that's going to actually get some shit done. So where are you at, ladies? Let's go.
So true.
One of the things, though, you also said was like you're a girl's girl and you are looking for groups of women, which I would also identify as a girl's girl, but I feel like it's not always very accepting, always, which is weird to me. And I feel like even us in our group of women, we compete against each other in a lot of ways. So I wonder if you've seen that, if you feel the same way, or if that's just a me thing.
No, I have felt that. I for sure have felt that more early in my career than more recently. And I think part of that is I don't expect to connect with everyone who's a woman just because they're a woman. And I think what happens is some women are really competitive, especially if they see you as a threat. And there is a cattiness that can come out. I have seen it in my career. I'll tell you, I remember early on, I was giving a talk at the Builder Show, and I saw a woman who considered me a competitor come into the room and fill out a question sheet and give me a negative score. And I watched it happen. And that was one of my first perceptions of women in the industry. And I was so taken by it. Now, looking back, I take it as a compliment. I'm like, okay, this person saw me as the person to beat, right? I think having experienced it, I never wanted to be that person. Like, when someone is smart who's coming into the industry and is providing value, that helps the whole industry. And if you actually care about the industry, you want smart people. It's such an indicator of how you actually feel, right? If you want to be the best and the only one who knows stuff, then that means you don't actually care about the industry or the people in it. And I think every time I've had something like that happen, I hate to say karma, but karma, right? It really ends up just working itself out. And you almost have to just give it time and let it figure itself out and be true to yourself, because how you respond and how you treat other people, I think speaks so much louder over your career.
Yeah, and I think there's a balance too, because for me, I want to be the best. I want to be the best that I can be. I want to be the best at what I do. I'm always striving to be better. But I think people that have the mindset that in order to do that, you have to step on somebody else to get there. That's a mistake. And that's like you're doing yourself a disservice. You're doing everyone else around you a disservice. And I've had very heated conversations about this very thing because
Yeah.
I'm like, we can all rise together. And honestly, if we all stick together and do it together, it's going to be easier for all of us.
I try to remember that people are trying to provide for their families, right? And people have a lot of pressure. They
Yeah.
want to do whatever they need to do to be successful. And I think one of the things that happens in business, and it's why a lot of leaders, like you, your ethics will be questioned. You will have hard decisions to make, and you will have to, that's just like part of leadership and part of business. And I think knowing who you are and being true to yourself is helps keep you on the right path. And unfortunately, some people make really petty decisions and hopefully they learn from them. But again, it's like, it's not about you. It's about them having their own pressure of being like, I need to compete. I need to win. Feeling who knows what's going on at home or why they feel like they need to do that. I think it's always such a cliche, but I try to keep my blinders on because what they're doing, that's about them. It's not about me. And I want to focus on what I'm doing because that's where I have control.
That's confidence. Your confidence is now outshadowing their insecurities. And I truly think that's what that behavior is. It's just their own insecurities.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think that confidence takes a while to build to get to that point. Do you feel like that happened? Was there a switch that just turned on one day? You're like, you know what? Actually, I'm different now. Or how did that happen for you?
You know, that's so funny. So I have a daughter who's 9, and we talk a lot about this. And I actually think it's something you have to constantly work at. I don't think you ever stop having to remind yourself of that and to have these conversations with yourself and to apply it in real life situations. And now my daughter will be in the car and I'll get impatient and she'll be like, Mom, you need to show patience. You don't know what that person's going through. And she'll repeat some of these things back to me. And it's just a reminder that this is something that happens like all day, many times a day. And so, quite frankly, every once in a while, you may not be your perfect version of yourself, but you're going to have another opportunity to do it differently, probably in another hour or the next day.
Isn't it so funny how our kids end up parenting us
It's
sometimes?
hysterical. And she does it, she mocks my voice when she does it. It's so good. But the truth
Mhm.
is, I'm happy that the lesson is sticking because it's not like you just become confident. You have to just continue to work at it and try to show up with that version of yourself.
Yeah. I love raising girls and I love raising hopefully strong, independent women. But it is funny to hear the things that you say mirrored back at you and they're reminding you. I love when that happens. But I also think it's really interesting to see how we say these things to our kids and we're like, I just want you to be better than I was, right? I'm trying to give you everything that I know so that you can be better than me. But to watch how people still try to take that away. My kids are always, they have to constantly fight for it. And it's just interesting to see it from the other side because I remember going through it as a kid, but to see it from as a mom is just, it's hard to watch sometimes.
I have been known to say, "Do you want me to trip that kid on the playground?" And it always makes my kids laugh because obviously I'm not going to trip a kid on the playground. But I do think that there's one really good thing to come from it, and that's resilience. Kids have to know that their self-worth doesn't come from other kids. It has to come from themselves. And the earlier someone can learn that, the more successful they're going to be in life. But I totally agree. It's hard to watch. If someone's rude to my kid, that's
I know.
deep breaths. Deep breaths.
I know it. And I have to always remember some myself as well because those moments, if you don't have any of those hard moments, it doesn't fully bake in you. You can say these things, but you
Yes.
have to prove it in order to really have it be your belief.
It's so true. My husband and I sometimes are like, are we giving our kids enough challenges? Is their childhood too easy? We need to make sure that they have that grit in there because that independence and ability to be resilient and work through things really does form your character.
Yes, it totally does. Not to get off on a tangent with being a mom, but so true. I want to talk about She Built, but I want to talk about it from a different angle. So, you built the She Built Foundation, and you had said in your intro that was your thing that you built, that was totally from your heart and your mind. So, can you talk a little bit about that process and what building She Built actually gave you, like from an emotional standpoint?
Yes. So She Built really happened during COVID. So this was an all women build. The general contractor who got me involved, she's a third generation builder. Her name's Christy Allen. And she asked if I would be a part of this all women build as the woman owned marketing partner. And I, of course, was really excited. What was interesting is at that moment in time, my family was going through something really hard. My mother-in-law had just been diagnosed with ALS. And beyond that, we found out that it was the genetic form of ALS, which means there's a gene that you have a 50% chance of passing on to each of your children. So my mother-in-law obviously is my husband's mom, which meant that he had a 50% chance of having this gene. And then if he had the gene, our children would have each have a 50% chance of having the gene. Now, this isn't just a gene where you could get sick. It's not like the BRCA gene because this is a terminal illness that has no cure and no treatment. So it is literally a 50% chance of having a death sentence. And going through that, I'm a marketer. So in my head, I'm like, maybe I need to shift and start going to finding a cure and put my passion and my ability for marketing into this initiative. And I believe it was a month that we had to wait for his results. And during that month, I just went down a rabbit hole of research and figuring stuff out and just trying to learn more. And at the end of it, my husband did not have the gene. But I had so much emotional buildup around wanting to be a part of a solution for something bigger. And it ended up being such a scary, dark time and so depressing. I'm looking at my kids and freaking out, and they're fine. My husband doesn't have it, my kids don't have it. But I had this emotional buildup that I needed an outlet for. And then it was like, the sun rising, the she built, this house is being built. It's all these women. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, these women are so incredible and inspiring and bright. and it was like everything joy. And I just poured myself almost fully. Anyone who didn't know what was going on in our personal life was probably like, she is really going full force with this she built. And it was because I just needed this positive outlet. And so I did. I really wrote the book and I told the story, and then it just kept growing. It became something more than me proving that I can do it. It became this thing that I don't want to say brought me back to life, but took me out of this really dark place. And really, it ended up becoming a bit of a pivot. It didn't take me into a different career, but it almost changed my role within the home building industry because it got me involved in workforce development. All of a sudden, I'm in front of kindergarten kids talking about home building, and it did ignite my passion and just where I see myself contributing to the building industry in a positive way. So, that's the real story behind it.
It's such an amazing story. And I think it's so cool. And I think this is something to do with being a woman too, but I don't know. You built something that impacts other people and for other people while trying to save yourself. You're doing this for yourself, and it's so multifaceted. So I think that's so cool. What an amazing way to build a company and a mission and a business.
Thank you.
Now that She Built has been around for a while, why do you think that it resonates so deeply with women in our industry?
I think it resonates because it never existed, right? Like women who are in the industry now were never told as kids this could be a good career path for you. So, especially women who are doing the jobs that are in the book, they did it and they broke the mold. They never had examples of women before them. So, the whole idea is for this to be a tool for real women to go and share what they do so that kids see real women who do these jobs. And I think I definitely did not predict that it would have that kind of response. I really didn't. I thought this will be a great children's book about building. I didn't really think it would be turn into the movement that it turned into. I definitely didn't think it would then become a nonprofit and continue to grow. A lot of the growth has been really organic. I do have to share with you, though, at many points in the beginning, especially, there was a lot of doubt. I remember when I first decided to write the book, my mother said to me, why wouldn't the women who built the house write the book? That was her initial response. Why would you write the book? And that's my skill. My skill is I'm a storyteller, and my job was to do the marketing. But it almost plants this seed of doubt. Like, here I am, I'm a woman who essentially advocating for the future workforce, advocating for the trades, but I've never done a trade in my life. I hate another cliche like imposter syndrome, but why am I the one to tell this story? And I had to talk myself out of that and just remind myself that if not me, who else is going to do it? Someone else is not necessarily in a position to go into these schools and talk about building and share this story. And I learned a lot about just being okay with my skill. My skill is storytelling and marketing, and I can use that skill to make the industry better. And that's what I'm trying to do.
I think that's also just people not understanding what marketing is. And that's where the name of my podcast came from. I have very well intentioned family members that are very supportive, but they just don't get it. And they say things like that, like, oh, she makes pretty logos. She does pretty things. And they think of it as this, oh, it's just so artsy and all of this. But it's a valuable skill that we have that impacts our industry, people's lives. Marketing is very important, but people don't necessarily see it that way. And I've definitely had a lot of conversations like that as well. So
Yeah. And obviously, I know what that feels like too. Just make it pretty. When I first saw the name of it, I was like, oh my God, so perfect. This is successful. This is smart. This is strategic. This is going to drive action. This is thoughtful and connects with a specific demographic. It is such a surface way of looking at something that is so deep and psychological and brings so much value. Yeah, I definitely know what that feels like.
yeah, it's funny and it's a tongue-in-cheek thing now. I embrace it
Yeah.
now. I think it's funny when people are like, oh, yeah, no, you're in marketing. You just make it pretty. And they're like, oh, your podcast. And I'm like, yeah, you don't get it, but that's okay. I love that you are connecting dots. It's something that brings me a lot of joy now, actually. But it's funny how that all starts.
I love it.
As you've been building She Built, and you now have a big community of women that are a part of it, and also girls, which I love. What has that community given back to you personally at this point?
Oh my gosh. I cannot explain what it feels like to see someone I don't know post on social media or use the resources. I think for me, it makes it worth it. I put a lot of time and love and energy into all of this. And when people use it, I just feel like it validates the value that these resources can bring. So to me, that's everything. Genuinely everything. I see a Girl Scout troop post about earning the patch, and I'm like, oh, this is amazing. And even my dad and I have talked about this. He was like, what's really interesting, group two is your business, but She Built is your legacy. And She Built is the thing that you are going to be able to leave behind to make the industry better, that you created out of nothing, that will make a lasting impact. And I really love that.
Yeah, it's really special. Legacy is one of the things that really drives me. And I hope someday that my kids can look at what I've built and are proud of it and can be a part of it. But it's not an easy thing to build, it's so hard.
Yeah, it is hard. And I think nothing about She Built was about me. It was about the industry. And even though I'm so proud of it, I think the part that I am most proud of is that it can exist without me. It's something I'm like very sensitive about. I think the women who are doing these jobs should sign the books. I want them to take it into the schools. And it really was always meant to be a tool for other people. And I think that's what makes me most excited about it, is when other people really use it and use the resources to share their story.
Yeah, that's super cool. That makes it bigger than just you. And I think that's where a lot of people they get tripped up with building something that's truly going to be a legacy is that it remains only about them. And in order to really have something that's going to be generational, it has to be able to be passed on, right? That's the core thing about it.
Yeah.
But it's hard to separate yourself, but I feel like that's just key to creating something that lasts. Now, let's talk about. I have one more topic before the end of our
Okay.
episode. We're kind of like almost there. But I want to go back a little bit to where we started this conversation and talking about you owning your business and running your business. How has your relationship with the industry and the business has changed over the last 20 years? And if you wouldn't mind, talk about some of the big wins and failures that you've experienced and how that has brought you here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, a lot has changed over 20 years. When I first started in the industry, I came to group two and I worked with my dad, and it added a really different level to our relationship, a different level of respect. We were able to made us a lot closer. Now I work with my husband, which a lot of people don't know that, but my husband and I work together at group two, and it's done the exact same thing. It's brought a different level of respect. It also helps highlight we're very different, and it highlights those differences in a positive way because those differences bring value to the company and to our families. That has been a huge change. I think over 20 years, our team has changed a lot. So there's been different team members. I have some people who've been with me all 20 years. I have some people who, quite frankly, have broken my heart. People who are, I felt were team members who I was really close with, and for whatever reason, it doesn't work out. I think that's been the hardest thing. I think the hardest part of any business is not just managing people, but that responsibility of knowing that this is someone's life, this is their livelihood. That's a big responsibility, but also knowing that you are have to keep the company going and do what's in the best interest of the company. And sometimes that means having to say goodbye to someone who you think is a great person, and those hard decisions. That's why earlier I said you need to know yourself. You need to be true to yourself, know that you have the right intentions, knowing that you are doing things based on what's in the best interest of the company, the best interest of your family. That's definitely been something that I've learned over the years. I know you asked a broader question. What did I miss?
No, that was a great answer. I would agree that part of running a business is so freaking hard. And you really do care about the people that you work with and you build these relationships. And so when things don't work out, ugh, really sucks. And I don't know, I feel like I'm still learning those lessons. And I hope in 20 years I can say that I've learned them because it sucks to be in it.
It's really hard. And quite frankly, it can be jading at some point. I've had things happen over the years where I'm just like, wow, I need to take a step back. I need to not be as close to the team or to individual people because you can get hurt, right? I've had people steal from me. I've had so many things, but I think there's so many reasons to stop, right? There's so many reasons to be like, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. And I think one of the things that's a blessing and a curse, I have a really bad memory. I joke about it, but it's something I have to overcompensate for in my day-to-day life, but it also helps me move on. I don't hold grudges. I like when someone shows me who they are, I'm like, okay, got it. And then I move forward. And in the moment, when I think about specific things that I lost so much sleep over, but now looking back 10 years later, 15 years later, I'm like, oh my gosh, in that moment, that felt so enormous. But in the bigger picture, it was just one small little thing.
Yeah, it's hard to think about that when you're in the moment, but
Yeah.
I almost get mad at myself afterwards. I'm like, you laid in bed for 3 days over that issue, and look,
Yeah.
it's got to be nothing.
But that's human, right? If you didn't care, you wouldn't own a business. And you're going to care deeply. And I think for me, I've definitely gotten better at moving on. I had something really disappointing happen with She Built. This is a more recent disappointment where I thought something was going to happen, this amazing partnership. I worked so hard on it, so many hours, and it ended up falling through. And I was just like, I'm going to take a day. And I just put on my music and I got outside and I walked and I just let myself take a full day to just, I don't want to say mourn, but almost mourn the idea and the time and all the work I had put into it. And then I was like, all right, now I need to clear space for the next big thing. So I feel like I've definitely gotten better at moving on quicker when things don't go how you want them to go because it's going to happen. It's going to happen again and again. Like all we can do is just get better at moving through it.
You practicing building resilience. Yeah, it's hard, but it's a crazy how those moments when you look back, it turns out it wasn't as big as you thought, or something better is just around the corner, and that you had to go through this to get to there. And you don't know until you've gone through it, but it is helpful to remember those moments as you look back and be
For
like,
sure.
you're going to get through it.
For sure.
All right. I have asked you so many questions already. I would love to hear the last question that I'm going to ask you. I would love to hear what you would give to the women of this industry if you could tell them one thing and be like, this is going to be what I leave you with after this episode. Go do this and it's going to help you out, or you wish that they knew. What would that be?
I would say share your story, right? That's really what the She Built Foundation is all about. So share what it is you do in the industry. I think that's the thing that's going to help the next generation. Not only does that create a type of mentorship for people coming into the industry, but it also makes you real. It makes you relatable. It makes you re-fall in love with what you do, right? Like when you talk about your story, you remember why you do what you do. I think we all have really different skills. And I think when you can use your skills to make the industry better, whatever that looks like for you, I just think that's so rewarding.
I love that. I love that so much. And so many people don't tell their story. I'm always begging people, you should talk about this. You have
I
like so
know.
experiences. Tell people.
I think it's a human nature to be like, why would anyone want to know? But I do think that's how we make connections is by knowing more about each other, knowing how everyone's path is a little bit different and sharing that.
And remembering too, when you were early in your career, what are the things that you wish someone would have told you? Or what are the things that you wish you would have heard from other women? You have the opportunity now to share those things. Do it.
I'm excited to see where the next generation of women in the industry take the industry. I do hope that the industry feels more receptive to them than it probably did to us. You deserve to be in every room, at every table, and you don't need to question that. And I think that hopefully we're heading in the right direction.
I hope so. I'm doing all I can, and I'm sure that there's much more that I could be doing, but I hope that is true. And I hope my kids someday are in the industry and I'll get to ask them.
Oh yeah, I'm brainwashing mine so hardcore. So I bring mine to, I brought them to the Builder Show. They've both come to different events with She Built with me. My son's in ninth grade, and I'm like, in college, these are some classes that might be perfect if you want to go to group two. And my daughter, she says she wants to be an artist, and I'm like, graphic design is art, right?
Yep.
Yeah, let the brainwashing begin. I would love for group two to be a third generation business.
I can't wait for my kids to be following along at the Builder Show behind me. I've started planting the seeds, but they're also like, but mom, won't that be like really boring?
Listen, I'll put them to work. I'm all about child labor. So,
Okay, I'll drop them off to you.
mine. So last year, a bunch of group two team members brought their kids, and I gave each of them $100 bill, and they lost their minds. They thought they were so rich. They were so excited. And let me tell you, I was done at the end of the day. I was like, oh my gosh, trade shows are so exhausting. They didn't want to leave. They were having the time of their lives. They were at the She Built booth. It was really inspiring just to see the energy that they had. I'm all for it. Bring those kids.
Yeah. Mollie, thank you again so much for having this conversation. It really filled my cup today, and I hope it filled all of our listeners' cups as well. But I always ask all of my guests at the end if anybody would like to reach out to you or find you anywhere online, what are some of the ways that they can do that?
So my website is group2.com, GROUPTWO.com. So that's a great way to reach me. My email is just melkman@group2.com. And then She Built is shebuilt.org. That's for the nonprofit. And then what's really nice is nobody else actually has my name. So if you look for Mollie Elkman, Mollie with an IE, Elkman, on social media, you're going to find me super easily. So that's also a great way to connect. And I love connecting with people. So definitely reach out.
Your parents must have really planned that out well because there's 20 people that have my name.
Isn't it wild? Nobody else has that name.
Kudos to your parents. That's amazing. And it's not even a hard name to pronounce either.
Yeah.
That's funny. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening in and coming back every week. I really appreciate you. You make it so that we can all do this and have these conversations. So thank you. Please like this video. And if you have any additional questions or things that you wish we talked about in this episode, please leave them in the comments because I would love to hear, and I could probably convince Mollie to come back. So please put those questions in and I will put them in our next episode and we'll be down there as well. So thank you everybody for listening. Thank you, Mollie, for all of your time.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. All right. Everybody go like the episode, comment, and we will see you in our next episode next week. Bye, everybody. Have a great week.